I'm John Batchelor. John Avlon of CNN and the Daily Beast and Newsweek is here with me. Tegan Goddard, Political Hour. We're going to do some politics in Pittsburgh. Selena Zito of the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review joins us, reporting on an event of Thursday the 19th, the day of the president's speech at the State Department, about Palestinian and Israeli conflict. This event was understandably not covered heavily because it was the vice president in a fundraiser in a private neighborhood in Pittsburgh. However, the details here point to this concern, voiced by many, including the Wall Street Journal, that the president's reelect campaign is struggling, or thinks it might be struggling, with the same Jewish donors who were so generous. The president had 78% of the Jewish American vote in 2008, were so generous 3 years ago, may not be coming back. Selena, can you clarify this event? Was it understood to be get your big checks out and give them to the vice president? Good evening, Selena.
Hey, how are you guys doing? This event in Pittsburgh was completely under the radar of everyone, including all the local elected Democratic officials. It was held in a well-heeled neighborhood of Pittsburgh, a heavily Jewish neighborhood. There was supposed to be about 40 to 60 people to show up. It was held about 2 hours after the president finished his speech on Thursday. There were 24 people there, and of those 24, many of the seats were papered, which means that they went as guests and went at the last minute. So I think that's kind of interesting right there.
Selena, so the implication is that there's not a lot of enthusiasm for a Joe Biden-led fundraiser in Western Pennsylvania, A. And B, let's talk a little bit about the message he was giving, because it's a nice sort of curtain raiser to the 2012. I gather that Joe Biden was talking about the need for the Democratic Party to be more moderate and for Washington to find a way to reach across the aisle, and even flirted with his own potential 16 race when he'd be, I think, 74. Talk about the themes that Joe Biden was playing out.
Well, I want to address first the issue that Biden is extremely popular in Western Pennsylvania. He has a lot of friends here. He's campaigned for a lot of people over the years in his years in the Senate, and even in the year that he ran for president and previously in '88. And he's from Scranton, Pennsylvania, so he fits in well with the Democratic voters here. So it was fascinating to everyone in the city that he came in under the radar, and nobody knew about it, and it went right out as quickly as he came in. He spoke for about, as you said, he spoke for about an hour, and most of the conversation centered on Democrats need to be more moderate. They need to get back to their Democratic roots that were fashioned in areas like Western Pennsylvania.
What does he mean by that, Selena? I just want to, because that could mean anything. What did he mean by that in that area?
I'm getting all of this secondhand, but what several of the attendees told me was that the Democrats need to be more appealing to voters in Western Pennsylvania, and Democratic voters in Western Pennsylvania are more conservative Democrats. They're labor Democrats. You're talking about people that are come from working in coal mines or possibly working in the Marcellus shale industry. So a lot of them who felt slighted or under attack in between 2009 and 2010. So I think that's specifically what he was addressing, and from what I understand, he also explained that he knew that Washington got away from the kinds of voters that are in Rust Belt states. They need to come back to them.
Selena, what's interesting to me is you talk about knowing this from your own firsthand reporting of people who attended the event. And we have an incident, not only this one, but one in Cincinnati last week where there was also not pool coverage of a Joe Biden event. We have a situation where President Obama was last week in Boston, and the White House was playing heavy-handed with a pool coverage of that and not letting a Boston Herald reporter into the event. Might we be seeing a new strategy here in the way that press is being handled for the reelection campaign?
I absolutely agree. I think they're keeping the press at arm's length. They're keeping the details to a minimum, and they're, the problem. Also, I should add, Tegan, that also in Denver, that fundraiser on the next day, the next morning, was also closed press. There was no poll reporter. I shouldn't say closed press because all fundraisers are closed press typically, but there was also not a poll reporter with the vice president at that time. It's a really fascinating strategy. You saw the sort of a peak of this kind of attitude when they disallowed Fox News for a brief period in 2009 to not participate in certain events, and I kind of forget the circumstances around that. It feels like a lifetime ago. So it's interesting, and they got a lot of fallout from that. It's interesting to see them go back to that.
Selena Zito, the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review. Joe Biden in Pittsburgh for just moments. John Avlon and Tegan Goddard. I'm John Batchelor.